¿Qué tal, amigos MasGamers? Seguimos con las entrevistas y ahora estamos con el lead artist de todo lo que es Classic Games de Blizzard. Así que, si es que se acuerdan de un jueguito que está acá atrás, StarCraft, de hecho tuvimos un lanzamiento en Perú que estuvo bien bonito. Vamos a hablar un poco a ver qué novedad nos tiene y qué nos puede decir sobre este juego que ya obviamente todos los conocemos. So, hello sir, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
So, StarCraft Remastered, it was like a big surprise for us in Peru. The StarCraft community, the regional StarCraft community was really big. It was our first introduction to esports. We played like WCG in Peru. We had our local heroes of StarCraft. We had like a big competitive scene around StarCraft, and coming back with the remaster edition, it was amazing. We had a launch event in Peru with
Yes.
a lot of veterans players. Like now they have children and work and everything, and we had like local stars, everything. It was like a huge event. Everyone was excited. What can you tell us about the StarCraft Remastered?
Oh, so much to talk about. So for me, I guess well, I came on just after they made the decision to make StarCraft Remastered. They kind of sent out feelers throughout the company for the people that are still there that actually worked on the original StarCraft. So I was one of them. So they decided that I've been there and I know the kind of style and everything we wanted to do. And for StarCraft Remastered, our main goal was to not mess up StarCraft because those across the board, the game was being played still. After all of these years, has a huge following. There was never any of that. Like, this is broken, we can't play this game, or it didn't fall out of style. It was the perfect game. That's what we heard, right? So don't mess with it. It's like chess. You can change what chess looks like, but the rules and everything are exactly the same as the original. So that was kind of our biggest challenge in the beginning. When we started doing the artwork for it, we did some tests, and we kind of were incorporating a little bit too much StarCraft 2 style into the StarCraft 1, and we called it kind of like a StarCraft 1.5, kind of to bridge the gap. We got a lot of feedback saying that's not what we should do. So then we said, okay, we have to make this look as closely to the original as possible, so when you look at it, you instantly know everything. Nothing's changed. Everything is exactly how you remember it. And in some cases, for the people that have come back to it after 10, 15 years, it's almost like they never left it. It's in their mind. This is exactly how it used to look. And until they actually, switch back to the standard definition, they can see, how low resolution everything was, and bringing it back up, and you can see the glory of 4K.
It was amazing that the turrets of the Terrans, they have a little guy inside.
The little guy inside. So there was a few things like that. One of the things I missed, and it came out a little bit after we finished it, was the battle cruiser. On the back of the battle cruiser, so you have the front bridge area, but on the back, above the engines, was an eagle head. So we found the actual sketch for it and everything just too late. We had already done it, and we're like, okay, we're not going to finish. We're not going to put the eagle head on the back of the battle cruiser. But there were things like just going in and keeping the aesthetic for everything, because things have changed from StarCraft 1 to StarCraft 2. Time has passed. Yes. We upgraded all the vehicles, so we had to go back and kind of low tech everything again.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried because the Hydra, the classic Hydra, has like one claw, and the new one has like three, right? And it was like, please don't make the free claw Hydras. But I think
that was one of the things we made sure. Our initial take on the Marine too was very influenced by the StarCraft 2 Marine, even though they look really similar. If you kind of look at them, the way the lights are, the way like things are located, the little jets on the back, they were all different, and they were kind of all in different locations. So we had to go back and say, okay, there's two jets on the StarCraft 2 Marine. We're going to have the one jet again on the back. We're going to make sure that the legs and the arms kind of all have that same feel, and the gun is like the old gun and not the new gun. So we did make sure that as closely as possible, we took the original art and up-resed it.
I think that the Protoss like suffered the most changes in the remastered.
Some of the things we did with the Protoss in general was mostly like we did incorporate some of the StarCraft 2 styling in there, In the buildings, you'll notice there's a large. They're very low res, so it's really hard to see. It's kind of grainy, and so what we did was we cleaned it up like the Protoss and StarCraft 2, where they're kind of like the pristine, the honorful, and they have like the hieroglyphics and everything kind of incorporated. So where we could kind of push it a little bit towards StarCraft 2, we did, but we still kept the silhouettes as close as possible. So that, you looked at it and you're like, I know what that is. The Nexus. And this is the Wargate.
Yeah, you told us about that. With the push of a button, you switch to 4K, and that sensation that just with one button you change all the game, but it's still the same game. It's like a weird feeling, but a good feeling at the same time. I don't know what was the reaction of the team when you guys saw it.
First to test it out because we were going through the whole game and replacing everything in there. And a great way for us to test it to see if it was working, if it was the new stuff versus the old stuff. Also to see how much like the silhouettes have changed. We were able to just kind of toggle back and forth so we could test it. And our boss was like, let's. Yeah, it was a developer tool. And our boss was like, we need to keep that in. It's like, because the reaction you get when we showed it to like the executives and we're like, hey, look, this is what we're doing. We had a low resolution on there while we were talking, and then we're saying, and wow, look at this, and like everything changed, went widescreen and cleaned up, and it's really that, oh, this is awesome, because they weren't really sure where we were going with it, but until we could actually show them the difference on the screen between the 640 by 480 versus the 3600, like the 4X version. It's really amazing.
And what were the challenges of the art versus the gameplay? Because you said you have to touch nothing of the gameplay. So
we didn't. The gameplay we left exactly the same. We really did. You can play the SD version versus the HD version, and there's no problem. You can play in tournaments. You can play with your friends. Everything. So if somebody didn't want to upgrade, it's okay. And we made that one for free. So like you have the SD version. Anybody can play it. It's great, but if you do want, the 16 by 9 screen with the updated graphics and everything we charged a nominal fee.
So about Blizzard Classics, what's your job like? What can we expect for Blizzard Classics?
So the main goal of Blizzard Classics is to keep all of the classic games running. So we're doing a lot to update our older games. StarCraft was one. We kind of took a leap of faith with would people want something that's up-res like that versus just kind of patching it to work on the BattleNet and everything like that. So that's kind of what we're doing with, Diablo 2 is still running on the old BattleNet, so we're bringing that, trying to incorporate it into new BattleNet. Warcraft 3, we got it on the playtest realms now, fixing some old balance bugs and things like that to just keep them alive, especially as people continue to play the games. We want to continue to support the games.
And maybe can we expect any more remasters?
Maybe. We'll see how it goes. Right now we're kind of focused on supporting StarCraft still. We're we're continuing with the matchmaking system. We went from a 1v1 that works really well, and now the community's like, hey, what about 2v2 matchmaking or 3v3 matchmaking? And so we're going to work on that. We're also working on things that actually make the game a little better. The community has done so much. Like they've created ramps that go in all the different directions and expandable and things like that. So we're saying we should do that in the house, incorporate it into the game. So in the next, maybe not in the next patch, but soon, we'll have like all of the ramps in there, so you can go north, east, southwest, and all the corners, so that we can actually make more balanced maps for that. And then going forward from that, depending on we haven't really gotten any major complaints about actually the gameplay units, but we're continuing to work on consoles. So we have a unique BlizzCon console here, and anybody that comes to BlizzCon will have that unlocked, so they can play it in StarCraft Remastered. Yeah, we kind of did it underneath the radar. We didn't put it into like the press or anything like that, but we wanted to do something. You can see it if you go down and check out StarCraft. So those kind of things. We're still kind of tweaking on some of the consoles that we did release. So we have the Protoss console. Got some feedback about it being too different from the original. So we're kind of working and pushing that back towards, the original and having those people happy. Just make the community happy is our kind of goal now.
Cool. And returning to the development of StarCraft Remastered, by any chance, at any point of the development, do you guys think to remake the cutscenes?
Oh yeah. That was one of the first things I wanted to do. I worked on a lot of the original cutscenes for StarCraft, and even knowing back then, like, they didn't really match the story of the actual game that you're playing. They were more like little parts of this is what's going on in the StarCraft universe, but they're not really with the main story. They're just there. We were just on a really tight schedule, and we kind of wanted to prove the fact that people are interested in a remaster. So with that in mind, like StarCraft had over half an hour of cinematics in it, and they're epic. And even trying to like cut those down, it would have taken a long time. And you can see like how busy the cinematic team was this last year. So we didn't quite get in there on time, but that was one of the things that I wish we could have done. We did find some of our original renders, which were a little bit higher resolution, and we were able to compress them to look better in the game, but they didn't change at all. So they're better quality, but that's about it.
Cool. And you had this like artworks, no? These comics in the game.
We call those our interstitials. So before, if you're playing the campaign, to help fill in the story gaps, we would have a big page of text. So we said, well, that's not very interesting. You kind of just sit there and read the text. So at least we can kind of help tell the story with the interstitials, and all of the text is exactly the same, but at least we have like some panels to help support what's going on, and so you can actually see the characters that you're playing, like Raynor and Manx. I think even Kerrigan's in some of them.
Cool. So what can we expect for Blizzard Classics?
So next, like as I said, like our team is relatively small. We're one of the smallest teams at Blizzard now, but we will continue just to keep supporting all of the games that kind of have fallen back. So, and we're very conscious of the community, because that's basically what the team is for. We're there to continue the support for the games that people are playing. So, any feedback, just keep it coming on the forums. Send some emails to Pete. He's our producer, but yeah, like everybody, we listen, and we have like, I think half the team goes through the forums and like picks out things and says, okay, this is important, let's do this, and this is what's really being played, and why, and we did, like, especially when we were remastering StarCraft, whenever we did make a change or we wanted to make a change, we'd always run it past the community. It's like, we were thinking about doing this, is that cool? Some of them were like, no, don't touch it, and some of them were like, yeah, why not, Like, we worried about the 16:9 widescreen, because to me that seems like it's a major gameplay. But there's pluses and minuses for going both ways. So we left in the 4:3, so you can still play it like in a window, just like always, but we wanted to add like the 16:9 support, and the pros were like, well, it's a larger screen, you have more to think about, you have to move the mouse further, so yes, there's positives, but there's also the negatives with it. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So, well, we're expecting a remake for Rock and Roll Racing, maybe.
So I would love Rock and Roll Racing. I would love the Lost Vikings. I worked on Lost Vikings 2. So I would so love to see that get out there in the mainstream. It was a really fun game. So some of those old like SNES games, it would be really cool to do.
Cool, so thank you very much
Thank you.
for the interview. Así que ya saben, gente, esperen mucho más del equipo de Classic Blizzards. Bastantes parches para StarCraft, balanceo para Warcraft. Se viene un montón de cosas. En verdad, Blizzard está siendo linda. Así que gracias, gente.